Yeah. Divergence of opinion on what you're supposed to do with the cue ball here. Well-known teacher Grady Matthews says if the cloth is new, you should play the shot 3 rails short back to the end rail, and if the cloth is old, you play it long. Tom Karabatsos did neither one. So he only loses 1 for that because he drove 2 balls to the rail as required. So he starts off one in the hole. I'm getting some indication the players will use the overhead beads here for scoring. That will make it easier for us to tell you what the score is by far. Now Tom is on a foul. If he had failed to drive 2 balls to the rail, he would have lost 2 points, and the foul would not have counted towards 3 consecutive scratches. Because he sent the cue ball into a pocket, he is on a foul.
What do you know about this kid playing Tommy, George?
Both he and his father are excellent players. The son is regarded as slightly better. And he, as I was saying, he qualified last year. He won the qualifying tournament held here. Either won or came in second, and went out to New Jersey and was kind of nervous in the game I saw him play. I think he was playing Danny Berruti and came in second. Stroke isn't quite as smooth as a lot of players would like to see. It's sort of abrupt. I was telling the audience that it must be wonderful to have young eyes, but I wouldn't know.
Well, I just had a miracle performed on me. I had cataract surgery. I wore glasses all my life. I'm 70 years old. And the cataract surgery restored my vision to 20/20.
No, that's quite remarkable. You had better luck than Danny DiLiberto then. He had LASIK surgery and lost sight in one eye. But I'm glad to hear you're seeing well. And you see how he fired that ball in without much thought. That was mindless, and that's what a lot of younger players do. You hate to blame it on their youth, but that
Sailor was talking about when he's method. Is that,
method. You think of the ramifications of every aspect of the shot.
That's exactly the best way to put it. Okay?
Where
every single time you do that.
Where's the cue ball going, and where are all the secondary balls going, or at least a vague idea of where they're going, so you don't wind up with this.
After a while, if you watch the player, you can kind of read his mind and see that he's doing that. When they get into dead stroke, you can kind of get into his mind and kind of follow his thinking, even though, you know, you...
Well, if he gets into dead stroke, he's playing instinctively. We're not likely to see that with any of the players we're looking at today unless they really get open. Oh, incidentally, concerning our last match, Bob Cozzolino was quite concerned that I mentioned what an expert pizza maker he is. And I can speak to this from personal experience. He really is a fine, fine cook. This run is going to end right here. Safety complete. It's answerable, but there are no open shots.
You may have forgotten that Tommy was on a scratch, because he could have probably put in a lot more trouble than this.
Yes, he could have. Yeah, that's a very good point Freddy just made. You should always keep track of what your opponent did and whether he fouled in his last inning, because if you get in trouble, you can turn the table right back to him.
That's also part of playing the method.
No, it certainly is. And
And
with these, let's see, 5, 9, with these 11 balls lying just the way they are, you can see that the cue ball at the far end rail would be a much better defensive position where Tommy is now. But he rushed the shot, and he played the shot without thinking about anything except just that lone ball in front of him. Can't play straight pool that way.
Tommy's going to put him kind of where...
He should have put Tommy, except now there's a ball open for him to fire at with his young eyes. And he will undoubtedly go for this 3-ball. Might even go for the ball underneath it at the 12.
I get a kick out of these kids. These he's looking at it as if he's not going to shoot it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, and that,
thinking it over.
it's probably only
The
because
whole world knows he's going to shoot it.
it's probably only because it's tournament play too. If you were playing this shot for money, there wouldn't be any hesitation at all. Well, that's what, huh?
These kids shoot it.
Yeah,
so
that's.
make believe he's not going to shoot it, you know. Yes.
Yeah, sure you're not. Yeah. Now the 14 and the 15 appear to be dead. The 5 and the 8 are makeable. He really doesn't have any problems here. He should run this frame. Only problem I see is getting a shot on the 11 where he doesn't have to lose the cue ball and he can save those 3 balls to the right of the 11 for next. Very rangy stance, really spread out over the cue.
Try to get at that 11 now, looks like, George. Not a lot of room.
That's a good idea. He should get it off of there. It partially blocks the pocket from the 12, and it's got to come off. I don't know what he has in mind here.
Okay.
I don't know. There's a path to the 11. Probably shoot the 5-8 combination next. All right, takes a look at the 14-15. That's attractive. If he wants, he can bump the 14 out here for another break shot choice.
Just a little nudge, I guess.
No, that's all.
For a 15.
There you go. There you go. Best ball.
What do you do here? You're going to use the 14, right, George?
You're going to use the 14 for the break shot into the next frame, and I would say of the 4 remaining balls besides that, the best one to save would be the 5, except he just played position for the 5. I don't think the 15 is a very good key ball because you risk running the cue ball into your break shot, and he missed this one anyway.
Maybe a part of him told him that he shouldn't have done that.
He rushed that shot too.
Might have realized all that the 15, there's only one angle you got on there that's any good. And it's
That's
taking
just
you away
about
from your
parallel.
rhythm.
That's just about parallel on it.
Tommy's got to force the. He might not now.
And he can probably go 2 rails with natural English here to get a decent line on the 5. But he needs to be at least parallel with it to get an angle where he can bring the cue ball away from the 14. Or he could get up above it and 2 rail or 1 rail the ball. And now he's probably going to have to either follows this. If he gets dead straight, he has to draw. He has a little bit of an angle. He could follow 2 rails, or he could stay in the stack and leave himself the long shot.
Got an angle.
And he had the 2 rail angle. He went a little farther than he would have liked. So we have a score of 11-2, counting his foul earlier in the rack. Guess the players are going to play rack your own. Well, this is the awkward way of doing it. Normally you roll the balls down here and rack them then. That makes very little difference, I guess. They're on the wire, yeah, so it is 11-2. And now we can keep our viewers apprised of the score. He has a minimal angle left here. About the best he can hope for, excuse me, is to send the cue ball into the 9, which is either the 9 or the 1, which is the corner ball there.
If he's dead straight in, I mean.
If he's dead straight in, he can't do it.
Wrong would stop the 14
And
thinking that it looks like it's laying a perfect safe shoot into that second ball.
he's not straight in. He's got a little bit of angle, and he can play off the corner ball. Enough to play off the corner ball.
Trickle one down.
Yeah, trick the 1 down, and maybe the ball next to it, the 7. 1 and the 8 came out. Just a call. Now he can use the 1 to get position on the 8. The 6-13 is not dead, but it has possibilities. If he has enough angle on this, he could even go to center table and play the 2 next. Looks at the combination. It's not dead as it lies, but it's makeable. He's going to the top for the 2. Just
They tell you,
yep.
go to the top.
Center of the table will always deliver you the maximum in cue ball options. Maybe not always, but most of the time. And the cue ball's going to go in between the 6 and the 10. Here he's going to play the combination shot. At least it looks like that's what he's going to do. Shoot this with draw. Cue ball should be coming back toward the center of the table. Well, he lost the cue ball, but got away with it. Well, I expect to see him finish this rack off. His start is good enough. Could even jostle that 4-ball cluster now if he wanted to. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Thank you.
Did you get a cheeseburger, George?
Sure enough.
The sandwiches here.
Oh,
Yeah,
they cook well here.
They got
This one will.
Polish sausage. That's outstanding.
This one was not made by co-owner John Lavin personally, but he really makes a good burger. Somebody ought to marry that man. I wouldn't be interested, but he certainly has some attributes. That was a professional shot there.
Tommy knows the
And
game.
Tommy knows the game, and he recognized all aspects of the shot, which is what we've been leaning on all afternoon.
He spent a lot of time with Dallas West.
Yeah, I told our audience that.
And
I'm good. If you got Diet Pepsi, that'll be fine.
you'd never guess who his first instructor was.
Before Dallas?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was one.
Oh, yeah. Old-ish.
Who?
Me.
Oh,
Ish.
you taught him straight pool?
No.
No, just pool.
Cool. And, of course, he was in high school. Pretty sure he was still in high school.
Dallas taught him straight pool.
This is at the old original billiard cafe.
Thank you very much. You can see that Tom Karabatsos' approach is much more methodical than the 2 players we saw in the last game. Gets the balls open good and early. He plays the game more or less the way it should be played.
One on the side.
And it looks like that's the 5. I think he's going to go 5-2-10. 5-2-10-3 is probably what he's going to do here. Well, you are not counseled to bump into the balls when you don't need to. If the ball is already pocketable, leave it there. Why do you do that? Because then you know where it's going to be. Never want, in all forms of pool, you never want to touch a second object ball without a purpose. That worked out okay. Not quite as straight as he'd like to be. He can peek. He can see. He's going to pinch this and kill the cue ball there. Very nicely done.
Nice.
Nicely done. So we're going to have a score of 16-11. Tom Karabatsos on a run of 16.
probably going to run forward on this course.
This is the break shot most pool players like. No, I don't agree with you. I think he's going to draw it. Get to the 2 top balls in the rack. He went halfway, and that's why he's in trouble here. He really decelerated in his stroke, and you get into trouble when you do that. Any sport where you hit a ball with something, you're taught to accelerate through the ball. If you don't do that, you get the kind of results he just got. There are open shots here, but he did not hit that ball with any authority at all.
He might go rail first here on this 5 ball.
Possibly, because he doesn't have hardly any angle to work with. It's not that tough a shot. He may shoot the 3 first. Okay, he got away with running into the balls again. Still has the 9, for which he should be thankful. Looks like he has the 6 too if he wants it. 6 opens up the remaining 6 clustered balls. And he's going to take the 9 first. Play position for the 5.
See, he went up top. Now, here's another thing. You notice he went up top again. He didn't go into the stacks. He could have went into the stacks and broke the balls from underneath, but you try not to do that. You want to break them.
That's your last. That's last. That's last choice. That's last choice, and this run has been largely a matter of his picking off balls nearest the 4 corner pockets. That's another good way of playing pattern position. And now the 6th ball will open up the remaining clustered balls.
He's driving them down.
Better drive them down. The bottom rail will help keep them there. And he's got plenty of options here. The 11-7 would be 2 nice balls to save for last. And he can get to the 11 off any of the balls over here to the left.
Yeah, those balls opened up like a shelled clam.
They spread generously.
I think he's going to leave that 14-11.
Either the 14-11 or the 8-11. And now he moved the 8. May play to get position on the 14 now. Then he go 10, 14, 1, 8, 11. That's one way to do it.
Good ball to get on the 14 at the moment.
Well, if he has enough angle on the 10, he can get on it now.
14 on the
As the key ball? Yeah. That was not good at all.
Well, now he's got a side pocket break shot.
Nobody was looking. Well, he can still save the 7 if he wants. A little high now. Excuse me. A little higher than he'd like. There was no reason to move it at all. He's probably still thinking about moving the 7. Well, it demonstrates that the pockets here at Red Shoes are reasonably demanding. And if Rick Michalec wants to save that 7 ball, he really doesn't have a good key ball to get to it. Balls all over the table like this are not what you want in straight pool. You like to have them concentrated so you don't have to move the cue ball very far.
George, I need a coffee.
All right. Freddy's going to get a coffee. Something I'm not hindered by, as my record is 2 cups of coffee in my entire lifetime. I might as well advise the viewers, if you're interested in giving up coffee, Army coffee is the way to go. That was the 2nd cup of coffee in my life, and it was also the last. Well, Tom Karabatsos' run ends at 26. One thing Rick can do here is use the 14 as a key ball and play position for the 7 and the side as a break shot. Left himself pretty long on the 14, but for shot-making kids like this, this is a breeze. And that's just what he did. The break shot Rick left himself here is actually a favorite shot of the late Ralph Greenleaf, one of the two finest players ever to play straight pool. And today, John Schmidt, one of our better contemporary American players, favors break shots into the side pocket too. This is not an easy shot. He'd like the cue ball a little farther off the rail, but he didn't leave himself that option. But the best thing about this shot is that it contacts the top two balls on the rack, which is ideal, and leaves the cue ball in the center of the table. What he doesn't want to do is run into the ball behind the 8-ball. That's the toughest part of the rack to move. Now we have a score of 26-15 at this point. Rick Michalec Jr. trailing, but at the table with a break. Controlling the cue ball here is paramount. There is a scratch lurking in the bottom right corner pocket. This ball needs to be stroked. Rushed it. Most teachers advocate a pause either before or after the backstroke, before actual delivery, and he didn't pause at all. He rushed right through that shot. I should have said before or during the backstroke. Obviously a pause after won't do you any good at all. He's very lucky that ball went in. Nonchalant, and he's shaking his head. He knows he made it off the pocket jaw. It's akin to using the backboard in basketball, but he didn't call that shot. He was shooting for the center of the hole. A little too far for the 7 in the side, although it's still makeable there. The 11 ball will serve him well to break up the remaining cluster. 12 and 14 off to the left, modest problem. 9 and 4 on the bottom rail, no problem. He's going to shoot this with draw and come in between the 13 and 5. And there we are. Probably going to bump either the 12 or the 14 with this shot. Nope. Might have been better advised to. And again, a hair too far on the 1 ball. I'd like to use the 1 ball to open up the 12 and 14 balls. Probably do that with the 9 now and draw into the 14, 12 and have the 2 next. Well, I finally called one right. Now the way to run these remaining 7 balls plus the break shot is without moving a secondary object ball because they're all open. Well, 5 is makeable here, but he doesn't want to move the 8. That's his break shot. Probably, he's going to use the bridge to shoot the 14 and get a more approachable angle on the 5 where he doesn't have to bother that 8 ball. didn't do it. He has the same problem he had one shot ago. Specifically, if he shoots the 5 now, he ruins his break shot. Maybe planning to soft roll this ball. Nope. I suppose it's going to save the 7 ball now and leave the 8 for last. This hasn't been played as tightly as he'd like. He's even going to try and make a break shot out of the 15, and he did.
That's a nice, very nice shot.
That was nicely played.
And he did it with a safety attached to it. Even if he screwed it up, he still had like 3 exits. That's the beauty of the shot.
Notice that he has to draw the ball some distance for a desirable position here, and it's awfully hard to do that on a pinpoint basis. He got awfully good on that 7 ball. Just a little pinch here back for the 8 in the corner. A little bit of right hand draw here.
Yeah, the right hand will kill the ball a little because it'll allow him to hit the 8 ball a little fuller.
That's right.
The cue ball won't travel as far.
Now, one too far though. He didn't get low enough on the cue ball. As we said.
He didn't have any English. He used pure draw, and that's the result he got. So he got a pure cut.
Right. If he had used right-hand English, he could have hit the object ball a little more fully because of the transfer of spin, the throw, and he'd have the cue ball a lot closer to the right-hand half of the table than out in the center where it's not of any use to him here. I don't think he can get to the rack from here except off 2 rails. Well, we have a score of looks like 27-15. Be 20 now. It's 10, 20. Looks like 40-15. 40-15 in favor of Karabatsos. No apparent break shot. Probably play a safety, play the ball for score, and then play a safety into the side of the rack.
He's got the right angle like you're talking about here, George, to hit that second ball.
Yes, he can play this safety into the 10 ball without letting the ball up top come loose like we saw last game.
See? That's mighty strong, very strong. When it lays like that.
Rick Jr. has very few options here except to leave the cue ball underneath the 6 as far as I can tell, although there's nothing out there that Tom can really hurt him with.
How's he going to reach the cue ball to do what you're saying?
He might even challenge him with a long straight in on the 8. And he'd have to use the bridge to do what I just said. Looks like he's going to take an intentional foul. Not a bad play, but it delays the inevitable by 2 innings. He's going to have to deal with those clustered balls eventually because Tom's going to return this foul immediately. Well, the idea in a safety battle like this is not only to leave your opponent shotless, but leave him where he can't return your safety. Rick would be unwise to make this a protracted safety battle. He has the first foul. And he can get off the fouls fairly easy. He's going to take a second one, which is what we generally recommend. If you're going to take a foul at all, take 2 and make sure your opponent has 2 alongside you.
Should try to wedge him here.
Yes, he should go in between the 15 and 10 balls so that, or whatever ball that is above the 10, so that the safety can't be returned. Assuming he can reach the cue ball here, he can get out of this. But Rick Michalec Jr. does have 2 fouls, so he has to make a legal safety here.
What do you lose 16 points if you scratch it? Is that correct, George?
16 points, and you have to re-break the balls as though the game were beginning all over again. 15 points for 3 consecutive scratches, plus 1 for the foul. We were talking about Jimmy Mattia earlier. The last competitive pool he played that I know of, he was playing his friend Larry Schwartz, and he committed 3 fouls in a row 5 separate times. Counting his fouls and scratches elsewhere in the game, it was estimated that he lost close to 100 points, and his losing total was still 95. The players are calling for a referee here to judge this shot because it is important.
I staked Jimmy in a tournament one time. I forgot where the heck it was, in a 9-ball tournament that I happened to be in. It was single elimination. I think it was one of those minis, but a big one.
Yeah.
With all top players, big prizes. So I had staked Jimmy in the tournament. So who do I draw in the first round? Jimmy. Who do I knock out in the first round?
Jimmy.
He said, "This is too strong." He said, "My backer knocks me out of the tournament. This is really something."
That was a very difficult attempt at a masse safety, and obviously unsuccessful. As
He was buried.
He was buried, and he left balls open.
See, he's got to have a plan. If Tommy puts him on 2, where's he going to go? You
Right.
got to have an exit strategy.
When you take that first safety, you better know what you're going to do 2 shots hence.
Exactly.
That was
Look
casual.
at this. Look at this casual, and that was the result.
It's unpredictable that he'd go through those 2 balls, but he shouldn't have been anywhere near there.
Is that 3 scratches in a row?
I believe it is.
Now, does this guy know that?
Well, Tommy's picking up the rack, so you have to advise your opponent that he's on 2. So that will cost Tom Karabatsos 16 points, and he has to re-break the balls. Did have a good lead coming into this rack. That's still not what you want to do.
This guy doesn't know. What is it? You don't want to do it. What?
He doesn't get that choice. I'm not sure I understand this at all. He's spotting the ball he made and continuing as though there were no foul. I had him down for 3 consecutive scratches.
So did I.
Well, it's not
Tommy took 2.
It's not our business to comment on this. It's the player's business, but I certainly had this scored as 3 consecutive fouls.
I mean, that's the whole point of it, isn't it?
Yes, but quite.
Okay. That's why you take the 2.
That's exactly right.
In case a miracle happens,
I'm not sure.
You got the guy on 2.
Unless the opponent forgot, I really can't explain that to our viewers at all. Nice angle on the 10 that time. Now, we'll hope he doesn't overhit this trying to blast that rack to Kingdom Come.
Wind up in the bottom rail.
No, that's what you do, is try and get 4 or 5 balls open. The shot doesn't present as one of those shots that has the capability of blasting all 14 balls apart. I don't know if the 2 ball goes here, but the 3 obviously does. He needs a way to break the remaining clustered balls. 2 on the side would be a possibility if he could get there. He'd have been better advised to leave that ball there another shot or 2. And he has to play the 3 now, and I don't see any ready way of breaking up the remaining 7 or 8 clustered balls.
In the 60s, when I was down at Fort Lauderdale, I was on the road. We had with us on the road Sugar Shack Johnny and myself. We had Cannonball Eddie Kanowski from upstate New York. He was staying with us. Completely unknown, Great player, great player. And you hear the stories about the guy who'd run 100 before breakfast. Well, it's what he did every day. We used to go to the Miss Q lounge. You know, we'd have coffee, but then we'd go to the Miss Q, and he'd practice for about an hour or so, whatever. And believe me, he'd crank out 100, and then we would go have breakfast. Tremendous, tremendous player.
Yeah, you've told me about him before. He was one of the great unknowns. There's hardly anybody
here's how
outside
good
the
he
East Coast
played.
ever heard of him.
Weenie Beanie came in the pool room. Weenie Beanie. And he tried to get slick with Eddie. He wanted the nuts. He asked for a ball on a break. Ball on a break, playing one pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie gave it to him. Beat him 3 games in a row. Weenie Beanie broke the stick, never come back. Ball on the break.
For a good,
So I'll give you an idea.
For a good player, Weenie Beanie did take his share of beatings. You know, viewers should notice that this is a very haphazard run here. He's all over
Should
the
never be
table.
where he's at now.
No.
On the rail, far away.
On the rail, far
bad
away.
angle.
He's going to
Long.
break up the remaining 4 balls, but he's here taking a long, circuitous route to do it. Well, he got away with it. Shot didn't have much rhythm to it. And again, this is what we call a 50-yard line leave. He's halfway in between 2 desirable points on the pool table. And these are makeable shots, but what we'd like you to notice is how haphazard his position here is here. There doesn't seem to be any system to it at all. He's making shots one at a time. They all count the same in the score.
How's the long shot?
But in the
there?
long run, not how the game is played. We can make it in the side, too.
That's where he's probably going.
Overcut. He's rushing most of these shots. Now he's left a ghost. Now he's left a key ball and a break shot.
When you, what about that bottom ball as the break shot? The ball on the bottom rail. As the
Means
key.
means as a key.
No, the
It's
ball before the break ball. Yeah.
well, if it's not frozen, is better than if it is. If it's frozen, it's a pretty unpredictable read. The shot's eminently makeable, but because you can make the shot by hitting either the rail or the ball first, you really can't be absolutely certain of your cue ball path. It looks like he's going to save if he shoots the 5 ball now, he's going to save the 11 and 13.
No, that's what I was thinking.
This is not supposed to be legal, what he's doing now. Although I understand the rules were changed to permit it back in '08. Used to be you couldn't put anything on the table to measure except your cue. But now you can put the rack on to see if the ball's in or outside the rack. And then he's going to do as we said. He's going to save the 11 ball to get on the 13. Just take one rail route from the bottom rail to the center of the table. Use center left here.
You mean right?
No, I mean left. Straight up from the rail to the middle of the table. If he'd used right, he'd have gone in a line towards the object ball. By using left, he avoided the object ball. Got right where he wanted to be. So Rick Michalec Jr. has 22. And Tom Karabatsos has, looks like it's going to be 45. Although, as we say, we dispute the score. We saw 3 consecutive fouls from here.
Tommy might have claimed that he wasn't told that he was on 2.
Possibly.
I'm not sure. Does that hold true in straight pool too? I know it's the rule in
Well,
one pocket.
the rule book assumes refereed games, but it was announced at the start of this tournament. If your opponent is on 2 scratches, you're obligated to inform him of that before he shoots.
That must be what happened. Well, that's another thing about keeping track of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being aware of the whole game. What you're doing and what your opponent's doing.
Looks like 42 to 22 to me. Ideal break shot here because the cue ball goes right into the corner ball, which can act as the apex of the triangle, the same way the head ball would if it were in place. He's got a good chance to open with this rack up. Look out, 14. Not sure if
Now you see he did something that I didn't like. I should have mentioned it. I could see he's putting left-hand English on his shot.
Yep.
Where did the cue ball go? Went back into the balls and he got kicked back down.
Yep.
Now, what I would have done is just a hair of right-hand English, just even a half a tip. So when it hit the balls, it would have taken off to the this side of the balls. And when it went off the table, it wouldn't hit anything. It would have wound up right in the middle of the table.
The kickback
I wouldn't have wanted to go back into the stack.
The kickback effect is very difficult to avoid unless you happen to take on the middle ball in the row, and that's not where you want to be anyway. I think the 3-ball passes the 7. If he needs a 2, he can shoot the 5. That's what he's going to do. No, is he? No, he's not aiming at the 5. He's aiming at the 9. It doesn't look like he made it.
Off.
Well, he missed it by... Played his break shot incorrectly.
You don't want to go back into the rack. I mean, you already went in there once.
Hit it
That's
once.
Get
Hit
the
it
hell away
once.
from there.
Get the cue ball free.
That's right. Get the cue ball free. That's what I was trying to say. See, George, that's why you're such a master with words, you know?
My parents would be very happy to know that English degree came into play finally. I'm only out of college 52 years. Yeah, he should open up the 214 with this shot.
Can't hurt him.
And there they go. He can use this rail ball as a break shot, although it's not recommended. In fact, a lot of players would rather see him leave it there, but he really can't play position around it now unless he shoots the 7 up the table.
He's got to play the rail ball. This isn't a good shot. It's not a good straight pull shot. You know?
It's not a good straight pull shot because the 5 balls in the center need to be dealt with, and this doesn't help him do that. He got a little bit lucky there. Now he can use the 15 or the 5. Get those balls open. But that ball up near the top right-hand corner, that has to come off in the sequence sooner rather than later. Not going to do him any good down there. Now wouldn't be a bad time because there are 5 balls lying open, and he should have position for at least one of them. He's going to use the 5 to open up the remaining clustered balls. Not a bad play, but he's got to get to that ball up table early.
I'd go in between the edges. That's where I would go. That's the place I would have sent the cue ball.
A little too hard, so the balls are going to have to be re-nudged.
Right, he didn't get a real good layout of it. I'm afraid of that ball at the other end of the table because the balls aren't laying real good where he's going to have to come pretty far back up the table to have a good shot off of that 9.
He left himself over the ball. He could have played 3-rail position on it too. But you don't want to leave a ball up table until late in the sequence because you've lost your chance of any flow. You don't want to go up and down the table late in your sequence. You want to do it when balls are out there as escape routes. What do you want?
Done there? I'll move that
These?
for you. Yeah, I want to get that away from my shirts.
Oh, all right.
Take that onion.
Yeah. Take these things too.
Send that onion into the David Jones's locker.
3-second rule. And look what he did here. Nonchalant at another ball. Like Lou Figueroa in the last match, Rick Michalec Jr. is playing well beneath his level. Most of his problems have to do with playing rhythm and demonstrate just exactly how important that is. Rhythm between shots and rhythm on the individual strokes. The 8 and 11 still have to be driven apart here. And he doesn't want to drive either one very far because one or the other could turn out to be his break shot.
See, I like the fact now the other ball at the other end of the table, it doesn't matter how you make it with that ball hanging in the pocket.
Right.
Although you would like to open them up just a little.
That ball did not have to be moved.
When they're in a good position and you move them chances are that
It's
it's
gonna
going to
be
go
a bad
someplace
position.
bad. Okay.
Game punishes you quickly here. If you didn't have to reach over the ball, now would be a good time to play that ball up by the right-hand pocket and get position on the 9 next. Or I guess that's the 1.
Too far, no angle.
Well, that's the only ball that could possibly be his break shot unless he converts something with the 8 and 11. Ideally, what you'd like to do here is slide into the left half of the 8 ball and nudge the 11 over a couple inches, but you've got to get the cue ball someplace advantageous first. Looks like he's shooting the 11 here.
No, it goes. Okay.
So he's got the 15 as a break shot, although it's pretty high up the table.
I think he wants a 14 as a break shot the way it's laying.
And that break shot is fraught with peril, too. You might be right about that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it. He's going to go. And then that striped ball finally in the corner, and then the ball on the side.
See, he was careless on that one. He should have fought to get that cue ball with some English. Another foot down the table where this shot would be an absolute cinch. It's okay now, but
That isn't too bad.
the great players fight for them inches. They don't get careless. I had the pleasure and honor of watching a guy like Portland Don play 9-ball, Portland Don Watson. The first shot was the only time he might be far away from a ball. After that, every shot was
perfectly in
2
line.
feet away, 2 feet away, and the 9-ball, 1 foot.
Like your
2
friend,
foot,
like,
9 balls.
like your friend Porchester Mickey.
That's how Mickey played the same way. Mickey Carpinello. He learned from Sailor Barge. Hanger, 9-ball. Every time he'd shoot the 9-ball, hanger, 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 hanger.
Right, here are the problems with this break shot. First of all, you're going into the very fattest part of the rack. So in terms of physics, you've got a lot more to overcome.
Well, you got to use draw here.
The cue, yes, you must use draw, and the cue ball absolutely must contact one of the bottom 2 corner balls if you want to get the cue ball free. If it goes into any one of the 3 interior balls in that back row, it's probably either going to stick there or get a double kiss into the corner pocket. So this break shot, even though the ball is simplicity itself to make, breaking the balls and getting the cue ball free are no bargain.
Now
And he probably has to shoot it left-handed, too.
you need draw here because the draw turns into follow off that cushion.
Right. When a cue
And
ball
it'll
comes
hit
off
the-
the cushion, it does the
And
opposite of
it'll
what
hit
it was doing
it'll
before.
hit the back of the stack and go forward. If he shoots it with foul or anything else, it's liable to go off the rail into the balls and then rebound back into either one of these 2 corner pockets.
All right, he's going to shoot it left-handed, like I said, and he's probably going to want the cue ball to hit the 2. Well, he caught the middle of the stack, and he's going to go down the table, but he got away with it. Spin saved him that time. The cue ball spun away from the bottom row of balls. Ideally, you'd like to hit the corner ball. He didn't, but it worked out. Either that 7-4 combination or the 15 will serve to break up the remaining clustered balls. 10 on the side is probably the right shot here because it's the farthest removed from the action. No, he's not going to use the combination because that's going now.
$10, $15.
10, 15, and save the 1 and the 9 as safety valves. And then he comes off those 4 or 5 clustered balls in the middle. He'll have the 1 or 9 in the sides if he has nothing else.
So you want slight draw here.
Well, he's stuck there. I'd have drawn the cue ball out of there. He's lucky the 9 goes by the 2, although he still has the 9. He still has the ball over to the left.
That's
the 13 he's close to. It goes by the 2. Although if it didn't, he would still have the 9.
Throw this in.
Still no apparent break shot here. Unless he nudges the 10 or 8.
He's got to get up to the top somewhere if he's going to do any real work. If he do any work at all, he'd have to get to the top, or maybe he can.
Maybe he's
going
going
to get above the 8 to nudge the.
Maybe he's going to save the 9 and 1, have a side pocket break shot.
Well,
he went too far with this one, whatever he was
He
planning.
went up high. Well, but you see, when you're up high, you got options. Now he can even roll into the 8 or the 10.
He can bunt the 8 ball into break shot
See, the
position
key
if
is
he wants.
He's up high.
There you go.
And there he goes. Okay.
Yep. Can't do that from down low. Got to get above the balls. You can do it from down low, but it's a lot more unwieldy, and you're not as sure of next shot position. Oh, he's going to go 9, 10, 5.
10, 5, 8.
Well, 9,
you
10,
see,
5,
come
and
over
9,
and you
10,
look-
5, and save the 8.
He did something. He come over and took a look at the 10 to make sure he's going to get the correct angle. There's a lot of times there's an optical illusion. If you're looking at it from the side, you got to look at it from the front.
He dribbled that ball in too.
But he's got an angle. He
Yeah,
can't- he
no,
can't get hurt.
he's all
This is
right
fine.
here. He's all right here. Just right.
Okay.
Low left here. Let's
the
hope he.
left again will
let's
kill
hope
the ball slightly,
Let's
so
hope
he
he
can-
remembers to use it this
he
time.
can
Last
hit this
time he
with,
went too far with the cue ball, and he's aiming too high on the cue ball now.
He's doing the same thing. He's gonna roll this in, I think.
No, he's going twice across the table.
He didn't feel comfortable with that little spin draw, and he got in trouble again. He didn't put it in a good
Minimal angle. One rail would have been better than 2. Low left. Rick Michalec Jr. has
I would
27.
have drew it though. Wouldn't you draw the ball a little English? One rail instead of cross.
Score appears to be 55-27. There's a lot of draw here. He can get the cue ball over to the corner ball, but he's not going to damage the stack much. Didn't like the way he played the last ball. Next, Lee. Tom Karabatsos appears to have 60. 65-27 appears to be the score. It's not really good. You have to hit it too hard to do too little to the stack. He'd probably better off with a safety here.
Safety's strong, believe me. This is a very good safety. You can execute.
That's exactly why. Didn't stroke it the way he wanted to, and probably wouldn't have gotten.
Shoot the side. I mean, I
And
know.
play into the side of the stack.
Liberto automatically plays that safety. He
Automatically
loves
off the corner
it, 'cause
ball.
he knows he's a big favorite to get the next shot.
Yeah, he will beat you to the open shot. This isn't any good because he's left, as we've been saying, one up and one down. The side rail and the bottom rails are captured by object balls. He's got
That's
probably
where you
gonna
want to leave your opponent, not yourself.
probably gonna have to challenge him with a long shot here. He's going to take a foul first. Here we go again. The score remains 65-27, and Tom Karabatsos has the first foul. Nothing for Junior to do here except return the foul. You might want to try and nudge the balls a little looser than they are now. Make escape a little harder. But now the players have one foul each.
What is it?
Mr. Myrie.
It's not a bad return, but I'm not sure why he took it instead of taking a second foul. Junior can get out of this fairly simply. All he has to do is drive the 14.
Bank it away.
Just drive the 14 to the rail. Stick the cue ball right there.
Yeah. Or he's gonna
Ooh,
play
looks
off
like
the
he's
6 into the side of the
a
stack.
6 or no.
That's got a lot of options.
I think what he's looking at is playing off the side of the 6 and bringing the cue ball under the 7, one pocket style, but he doesn't really have to do that. There are simpler options here. The one I like is playing off the 2 balls nearest the cue ball. Just sticking the cue ball right there in the middle of that mess.
Yeah, moving another ball out too.
Mm-hmm.
Pressure on things.
Well, he's going to go to the rail and back into the side of the stack. Nicely done. Except it returns us to where we were.
That's $37.
Should I take them off the table? Take these?
Yeah, sure. Want a little bag?
Got one.
Yeah, I got bags.
While Tom Karabatsos ponders the situation, Fred Bentivegna is doing commerce. I believe he's going to try and leave the cue ball under the 7 here. No, he's going to kick at the 7. It's a legal safety, but he left open shots. Successfully, he would have had the kick at that ball. The cue ball goes into the stack and nothing comes out. Also, he wanted to send the 7 closer to the pocket than it is now. Teach you anything you want to know? Teach you anything you want to know? Not much to comment on here because Rick Michalec Jr. is still playing this game 1 ball at a time. There isn't much of a plan. Not nearly as polished a straight pool player as his opponent, but that doesn't mean he can't win. He's gonna need some good rolls to put a run together here, though. He's not playing his regular game. There's no rhythm whatsoever. He's gonna have to open the balls a couple times to start feeling the ball. Well, he rushed that again, too. Now, we're talking about feeling the ball here. Almost all tennis players, upon winning a match, report to their interviewers, I was really feeling the ball well today. And when pool players are struggling, the way Rick Michalec Jr. is here and Lou Figueroa did in the last match, what's often happening is that they are simply not feeling the ball. They are not feeling the cue ball against their cue tip. They are unaware of its spin or not as fully aware as they should be, but it's a matter of one way to immerse yourself in the game is to get used to how the cue ball feels against your cue tip. And you start to feel the ball and you pick up a sense for how the cue ball feels against the object ball, and away you go. Rick Michalec Jr. has not been able to do that yet.
You know, George, I've done a lot of commentary with Billy in Cardona.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's pretty good at one pocket. He's kind of just fair at banks. He might not think so. But I hope he isn't listening. But, George, you could probably give him 125 to 100 in the straight pool commentating, okay?
Yeah, Billy, by his own admission, doesn't know much about straight pool. He's another converted 9-ball player who played it by pocketing balls well.
He could run 100 balls and have a clue how he did it.
Tom would like to use the 11-3 to open up the balls, but he needs very precise cue ball position to do that. He could use the 9 on the side, too. This is too late in the run to be wrestling with the last 8 balls like this. These balls should have been approached well before now.
Gonna hit this with a little speed.
Not really. Could have used a little more speed than he did, but he's got that 15-4. It's not really on, but it can be made. I don't think he can see the 14. I'm not even sure he can make it as a combination from there. He's going to play the 4. Billy would be even better if he would forget that he was on the air and just talk like himself. He tries to color his language so much that it does sort of get in his way. That was nicely done. Well, what a lot of players would think about doing here is making the 15 and sliding over to bump the 5 out the other side as a break shot. The 2 balls in the center of the table are worthless as they
Let's
lie.
see, if he hits, no matter how he hits that 10 ball, he can't get in trouble.
He's going to come
That's
in
what I like.
behind him. Well, but he didn't move either
See,
ball to
your
break shot.
idea was the best way because just look at it this way. If he goes into the 10, if he hits it dead in the face, he'd have that the other ball that he just shot in.
Right.
If he hits it on the other side, he's still got that ball. If he hits underneath, he can come down and shoot the 2 or 3.
He
so
could
there
shoot.
there was no downside to that carom.
No, he's gonna save the 3 ball for a break shot here.
You got to consider all the possibilities, and if everything checks out, then pull the trigger.
We'll see whether he plays position for the 3 ball as a 1 rail or 3 rail shot. I don't think he wanted to be quite that straight on the 2, but he can follow it and get decent position. If he comes out under the 3 ball, he'll play 1 rail position, and from here, which isn't very good, he'll play 3. But he has no business being anywhere near that side rail, because now he can't get enough spin on the ball to affect a 3 rail route off the rack.
And he can't hit, well, he's going to have difficulty hitting. He sure can't hit it with any speed.
No, he'd have to jack up and take all kinds of chances with it. He didn't play the 2 ball well that time at all.
The guy almost beat our record, an hour and 45 minutes, one game. It took an hour and 35 minutes, one second. Oops, excuse me.
Freddy?
Hi, hon. How are you?
I'm Luz White Gayle.
Hi, how are you, honey?
Nice to meet
He
you.
speaks well of you all the time, just so you know, okay?
Well, I just want to tell you, I wear you to bed sometimes.
Oh, God.
You got a good man there, Gail, one of the few.
I do have a good man. He's a real sweetie.
Yeah, Lou's all right. He's
You are
I'm George Fels.
George. He's spoken highly of
Nice to
you.
meet you.
Nice to meet you. And he had a good time when he was playing with you.
Oh, good. Yeah, he got something out of it. He played good enough. He beat a real good player.
Because of where he left the cue ball, Tom is going to have to baby this break shot in effect and hope to roll out the corner ball and maybe the ball next to it, but he won't be able to do much more harm than that.
He really liked the way Lou played the match that he watched him.
And as called, he got the corner ball out of there, but not where it's going to do him any good. This is a fairly easy safety, but it's also a missed opportunity.
No,
The score is,
that was
at the moment,
All right.
86 to 28,
so he hasn't even
so he has a lead to rest on, but he should have gotten a better break shot,
feel kind of bad because I had him on
and he should have been able to do more than this.
so, oh well.
This is elementary safety play here.
Get into his stride and win a few games now.
Could be, could
Nice
be.
to meet you, Freddy.
You too, honey. Thank you.
I'll put this on the table too. Thank you. players are probably going to take turns thinning that back row for a while. Bunt some balls out, leave the cue ball on the end rail. Dare your opponent to try one of them if you leave it there.
Oh, I like that.
Yep, that's the standard blood test. If he could get to the 9, the 5 appears makeable. But as it is, the only ball he can see is the 10, and he'll probably shun it in favor of a safety off the 7. Leave the cue ball underneath the 3 remaining balls in the back row.
It's going to put him right into the. There you go. That's where I would have sent them.
If the 5 ball is stuck, there, it's a good play. If it leaves the combination in the side, not so much.
No,
I can't tell from
pretty
here.
sure he's got it blocked
Can't
off.
tell from here. It looks like it's blocked. So, in the stack is always a great place to leave your opponent. You got to be very careful that nothing wiggles its way loose.
George, were you at the U.S. Open when Crane ran the 150 and out?
Actually, I was watching that on Fox with Whispering Joe Wilson as the color, doing what I'm doing now. He was also the first voice of the Chicago Cubs, and everybody remembers him as bowling's first commentator, too. But Fox covered that, and shortly after that match, Fox was sold to a big mouth named Sterling Red Quinlan, who promptly announced there will be no pool on Fox ever again.
Is that Channel 32?
Yeah,
That's the channel that Fats was on. Fats had that.
Minnesota Fats hustles
Fats
the pros.
hustles the pros. 13 weeks.
That was before Quinlan, too.
Well, I didn't see that match. They're not easy to shoot. See them shots.
No, that was not easy. In fact, I'm not even sure the ball could have gone. It was a desperation shot.
But I happened to be at Johnson City the next time those two hooked up, you know. Joe Balsas.
Balsas and Crane. I
Crane
believe
ran 150 and out on Joe Balsas at the what hotel was that?
Sheraton.
Sheraton Hotel
I
in
believe
the US
Balsas had 9 points that match. Top cue maker.
The next time they met was at Johnson City.
When there was still a straight pool division?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Joe Balsas ran 150 and out on Irving Crane, which prompted Jersey Red to say, them guys shouldn't even play, just lag for the break. Why even bother to play, you know. Real easy tables, but so what? Balsas did run 150. That's his reply to the 150 of Crane's.
He was better liked than Crane, too, generally. Everybody liked Joe Balsas.
Crane actually was a pretty nice guy. He just was very...
He was very dour at the table.
Oh, God. Heaven. Oh. Well, he was the Cadillac salesman. He looked like an undertaker more than a Cadillac salesman.
It was his family's Cadillac business. And he worked there some of the time. But at least he was known to have worked, something that could be said of very few of his peers. Balsas is also remembered for one of the longer hiatuses from competitive pool. He was away for 17 years.
And come back to become
And
the
came
world
back
champion.
and was the world champion. Must have married a saint to let him do that. But he complained to her he wanted to go back to pool, and she said, whatever you want, honey. That's the kind of girl you want. If you can bring him home to father, bring her home to mother if you can trust your father. Notice how Tom gets these balls open early, proceeds after them in a methodical way. That's all due to
I mean, you notice that when Tommy's balls, they're all over the table beautifully.
They're all over the table so as to lead to one another instead of simply being all over the table, and
Yes.
he has Dallas West to thank for that.
I was out at a tournament in California, Fred Whalen's tournament at the Elks Club, and Dallas was playing, and he was undefeated. I don't know how many matches he had won, but he'd won several matches. And the earthquake hit. California got hit with a giant earthquake. And Dallas packed up his wife and him, and they jumped on a plane and left.
In the middle of the thing. Is that the one
That's
Ray
right.
Martin one?
I don't know because
Ray
I
Martin-
got,
Ray
I got
Martin.
an airplane and I left myself.
That's where he got the name Cool Cat, is from winning a tournament in an earthquake. And that's probably the tournament. We're going to go 7-12-9 here. And the 8-ball that Tom wiggled in a couple shots back, we should point out that the only reason that ball went is because it was hit at the correct speed. That's what pocket speed means.
This is really nice now. Really
Yeah,
nice.
this is just the way you want to see it. Draw back to just about where he is now. Shoot that 9-ball straight in the side and right where you want to be for the 4.
I was on the 10th floor of the Elks Hotel, the top floor, when the earthquake hit. And elevators are out naturally, so we had to run downstairs. I was down in the lobby, and who followed me down was Cicero Murphy. And he said, I'm not going back up to my room unless they provide me with a parachute.
Do you happen to remember offhand if Gene Nagy was in that tournament? Because DiLiberto and I disagree on this.
I'm going to say no.
That's what Danny says too, but I think it was at the one of Fred Whalen's tournaments
He
where
had several tournaments.
I know he did, and Mosconi was overheard to say of Gene Nagy, "That's the best I've ever seen balls taken off the table in my life." Later,
Mosconi wasn't in the tournament that I was in. I didn't go to that one.
All right. Later, Mosconi said, "I don't remember having said that, and I can't imagine why I would have." So judge for yourself. Gene Nagy was definitely a brilliant player. He was also a little odd, but that doesn't make him bad. The score here is 89 to 28, if I'm reading this right. Rick Michalec Jr. has really never been in the match.
I had the 4Bs Club, this local around here, Ralph Stearman. He brought him in to trap me, and we played one pocket on at the 4Bs Club there out in Clyburn, the joint all-night joint I had, and I outran it. We broke even, and I quit.
That was wise.
And he was mad that I quit. You know, he says I like to play for days.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
I says, I got a guy that likes to play for. I know. He says, you're kidding? He says, does the guy take pills? I said, no, he don't take pills. He plays on a natural. He said, I could beat anybody in the world
That doesn't
plays
take pills.
for days and don't take pills.
I suppose you gave him to Artie.
I said, you're gonna give me to the right guy. So I lugged him over to Bentingers and I turned him loose on Artie. I went in with Artie and I watched the first game. And I seen Artie's got him 6-0, and Artie started stalling. I said, "Oh my God, he's already stalling with the guy." So, with that, I'd been up all night. I said, "I'm going home. Let me know what happens."
Let you know what happens. Like
'Cause
you,
I
did,
know
you
it-
couldn't tell.
I know it was going to happen. So I went home. When I come back, here's what happened. Nagy won one game. He ran an 8-0. That's the only game he won.
Jimmy
Artie-
Reed
Artie
wouldn't bet
pounded
Artie
him.
more than $10.
Artie pounded him. And the backer got so upset because Nagy said, I could rob this guy. This guy can't do anything. He said, you kidding? You lost like 8 in a row. What are you talking about? He put Nagy on a plane, sent him back to New York.
Artie could not only play for days, but he could play for days without eating, drinking, or peeing.
No, that's right. He might have a coffee and he'd smoke a cigar. He wouldn't sit down either. He never sat down. He'd just stand up with a stick in his hand. Either a cigar, a cup of coffee.
I've heard backers tell their players, how can you beat a guy who doesn't even need to pee in 3 days? Now, Tom would like to have nudged the 8-ball out with that shot, but the cue ball just walked right by it. He doesn't need to run this rack to win the game. He just needs 12 balls. So he now needs 5 more.
Does the 10
No,
go?
he began with 89, so he needs 4 more. He doesn't need the 10. All he needs to do is pick off the open one.
Well, if the 10 goes, then it's
It's over anyway.
possible.
It's over anyway. All right, 2 matches, 2 mismatches for us to call, but we'll get a competitive game here.
Well, Tommy's a pretty good player. Let's face it. He is.
I kind of favor him to win this. I don't know of anybody I'd bet on to beat him offhand. I think this is game ball here. Yep, that's it. 100-28 win for Tom Karabatsos. Not a particularly enthrallingly well played game, but a little better than the last.